episode. And man, thank you so much for clicking on that link and seeing what the world is talking about now. But first and foremost, I just want to thank you all, for logging on, for clicking that subscribe button and share this link with the people that you love, people that you want to encourage, because that's all we do here, man. We encourage one another to leave a legacy that, man, that leads to a better life, a great life, or best life. And today we're going to talk about a topic that I mentioned on the last episode, and it's the topic of love. I have a question for you. Have you ever really been in love? Another question. Do you know what true love is? I mean, do you really, can you give it a definition in your own words about what real love is? And where do you get this definition from? Where does your idea of love come from? Now, as a teacher and as an educator, I've had to deal with a lot of people. And then on top of it, as a minister, you deal with a lot of people in your lifetime. And so whenever I've asked people this question over the years, it's interesting to hear the answers. Just like when I'm counseling a young couple who's getting ready to make that big step and get married, and I ask them, so what do you like about her? And the guy's like, well, she's beautiful, and she makes me smile, and I just feel good when I'm with her. I'm like, oh, okay, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Well, you really know this girl, huh? I asked the young lady or the woman, I say, hey man, what do you like about this guy? Why do you feel he's the one? Oh, Pat, he just completes me. It's like he knows what I'm thinking all the time, and he makes me laugh, and I don't know, I just feel so good around him, and I'm like, oh. It's interesting because we can, feelings are one thing, and I mean, I understand that that's where it starts. There's got to be some kind of spark, some kind of an attraction, some kind of something that starts this thing. But sometimes feelings are confused with lust. Like that girl's fine, or oh man, he's hot. And what's that motivation? The first one is the flesh. Is hey man, hey. Nah, is it really based on a genuine understanding of what love is and what you're looking in someone? I was telling my church this weekend, I go, marketers spend millions of dollars on how to market something, how to wrap it, how to get the customer's eye and appeal and attraction to it. And you will use the example of perfume bottles, right? Or cologne. I mean, they spend a lot of money studying what's going to grab your eye. I mean, you haven't even smelt what's inside the bottle. Is it compatible? Is it something that you're going to like? It? Forget all that. They want to get your eye to first get a hook based on what it looks like and how, and then they put a hefty price tag on it to be like, man, this has to be good because it's a nice bottle and it's expensive. Therefore, it must be good. Without really ever really exploring what it smells like and what is it? I mean, is it something in the end you're going to hate because it makes you sneeze, or when you wear it, other people around you start sneezing? You know what I mean? We first get attracted by the eye. We're people that really go by our senses and not on truth all the time. Right? Just because it looks good don't mean it's good for you, right? It's like the food that we eat, man. I mean, whether it's full of fat, carbs, or whatever, if it tastes good, we really don't think about it, right? But if we know what's in it, and then we're like, that's there's 1,500 calories in that meal. And you're like, man, I'm only allowed 2,000 a day. And for those that are self-conscious, that helps you make a better decision. You're like, I'm not really going to eat that because I don't really want that to be my only meal of the day. Or you understand the consequences of you keep eating stuff with the red dye number 9, or, stuff with a lot of, cholesterol or high fats. And, you make wiser choices as you start looking more into and studying, what is this going to do to me health-wise? Well, we should also study love like that. What does love look like? I mean, how should it be and what it should be like? And where do I find this information from? And if you're like me, we really didn't have great examples of what true love looked like growing up watching our moms and pops. They worked hard. They did their best to make ends meet, but really romance wasn't always the thing. And love wasn't always it was survival. It was just getting by. It was dealing with, conflict due to money issues or unfortunately, maybe it is trust issues and stuff happening at home, or maybe that, mom and dad split up and, or you grew up with just your mom, you grew up with just your dad, or you grew up in a dysfunctional home. Well, those are our teachers that we gain from as far as what love is and what it looks like. We get a definition from that. Or if, you're novelera, you watch novelas with your abuela, and you're like, you see how love works out in those novelas or soap operas or drama, Hollywood, or if you're trying to base love based on the music you listen to. And yeah, I mean, I'm not sure those are the best places to try to find a real look at what real love looks like from people on a screen who they're acting out. That's not who they really are. Those stories aren't really real all the time. Now, a lot of people grow up thinking, well, that's gonna be me one day. I'm gonna, find my soulmate and I'm gonna get married and it's just gonna happen like that, man. We're gonna love, we're never gonna fight, it's gonna be great. We're gonna have kids, we're gonna have a beautiful family, we're gonna have the house, the white picket fence, and the little chihuahua or whatever it is. You imagine yourself cooking up carnitas or carne asada on the weekend, and you create this image and these expectations and you about this perfect woman or this perfect guy, and then you meet someone and you fall in love, and then as you get to know them, you're like, this is great. But all of a sudden you get married and you say, I do till death do us part. And then sometime down the road, something happens, and all of a sudden, the person that you love, all of a sudden, is your enemy. It's something that someone you don't love and don't get along with, and you fight with all the time. And then it's like, well, what happened? And then I hear sometimes people say, well, it's because I fell out of love, or we fell out of love, or, I was, I was in a confused time when I met him or her. And I don't know. I guess I made a mistake. Nah, man, you didn't make a mistake. What happened is that we don't keep working. Whoa. Even Siri's confused over here. Oh, we're good, Siri. She's trying to help me out, bro. That's crazy. Yeah, that's cool though. Where was I? Yeah. We find ourselves in this mess and we're sitting there and we're staring at the wall. We're laying down and what happened or what's going on? Unfortunately, some people give up too quick without ever really working on it or really looking in the mirror and saying, hey, what do I got to do to change? Love isn't easy. I mean, I asked somebody, I hope you don't mind, John, but a gentleman in my church, we had a Valentine's dinner at my house on Friday, and I asked him a question. I asked him what his definition of love was. And he didn't give me an answer then, but he gave me an answer yesterday. I thought it was pretty cool. One that I'm still chewing on. He said, love is when you give somebody all of your strengths without holding their weaknesses against them. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, man, that's really good. Because real love is this beautiful thing, but it's a labor of love. We hear about it, man. We do go to church. You probably heard a sermon about love the last couple of weeks or the month of love, but the Bible really encourages us. And I know maybe you're not a faith, but I get it. Don't get me wrong. Please don't just tune off. Because I think this is really beneficial. What I'm going to share is that there's this thing called unconditional love. And we grow up, and especially in the West, out here in America, where we're so blessed. I could use the word spoiled, but we're just blessed. And if you live in where I live, I mean, we're spoiled. It's beautiful out here in Monterey, Santa Cruz County. It's just a beautiful part of the world. But, we can take it for granted sometimes to think, where we live, we don't think much of it. But man, a lot of people all over the world come to visit here. They have to book a flight and, spend thousands of dollars to come hang out here for a few days and then go back home. Well, they invest to see. And sometimes, or a lot of times, we don't invest in our marriage. We don't invest in our relationships. We think that they're just going to get better on their own without work or without sacrifice or without having to change. And, some of the roadblocks to love have to do with pride. A lot of us, we're real prideful, or at least I was, we're stubborn, it's our way or the highway, or, we feel that if we admit that we're wrong, then we're giving somebody power over us. And that's not a real marriage. It's not a real relationship where there's this power struggle. No, it should be an agreement, understanding before you get married. How's this going to look? Who's going to make decisions? Who's going to make those hard decisions and have to stand by them and have to live by them, right? Because somebody's got to make those big decisions. And some people say, well, it's because it's 50-50. Well, no, it's not always 50-50. That's not a healthy relationship. Sometimes it's 90-10. Sometimes it's 50-50. Sometimes it's 60-40. Sometimes it's 100-100. Sometimes it's like somebody has to, love a lot more when someone's going through something. Because remember, men and women, we go through seasons in our lives too. And then as couples, we go through seasons in our life too. And then as couples or as families or as individuals, we face the seasons that life throws at us, right? Sometimes tragedy happens or just stuff happens, and, God forbid, that there's infidelity or all of a sudden broken trust and broken heart, then it gets a lot more complicated. And then we really find out how much a person loves the other person and what they're willing to do and how far they're willing to love and go. But all of a sudden we start stacking up these hurts and these pains, and all of a sudden we start bagging them and we start logging them, oh, he did this to me and she did that to me. Oh, well, and all of a sudden we're bringing our relatives into it. Well, hey, my bro, hey, guess what? My old lady, or you call, or the lady calls, the mom calls, or the wife calls her mom or her family. All of a sudden, then you got families that are squabbling, trying to defend their loved one against the other loved one, and they're supposed to be a husband and wife. They're supposed to be a relationship. They're supposed to be partners. They're supposed to be something. There's supposed to be a couple that was based on love, but then something happened, and the love is broken, and the trust is broken. And most likely it's because the foundation that it was built on was not a firm foundation. That relationship wasn't built on a firm foundation to be able to handle the storms of life and the tests and the trials that come with life and relationships, and how, handling conflict in a relationship, money in a relationship, how many kids, and where they're going to, there's a lot to come to an understanding before you get into it. And then some people just say, well, wing it as we go. And then you wonder why 1 in 2 marriages in America and then divorce. Then we wonder why America is number 1 in fatherless homes. Imagine the most developed, rich country in the world is the number 1 in fatherless homes. And that's not something to be proud of as a country, man. That's one of my motivations for doing this podcast, is because we need you to stick it out, man. And I know that some of you could say, you don't understand what I've been through. You have no right. And I don't. I'm not here trying to tell you that you have to. No, this is just encouragement coming your way on behalf of, my faith and my love for you, because I do this because it's motivated by pure love. And I just want to encourage you. And I know relationships can be tough. My first wife and I were together 25 years and it wasn't easy, but it was worth it. I'll tell you what, it was worth it. It was worth it. Unfortunately, my wife passed away 4.5 years ago. And I look back and I got no regrets, because I love my wife. And now I've been married a year and a half and I love my wife, Doreen. I'm so grateful to have an opportunity to love. And I'm much better at it now because I got a little experience with me. Now, don't get me wrong, I was scared at first to get another relationship. Why? Because it took so long for my first wife and I to really build a foundation where we can really love each other in a healthy way. And it was hard. It was hard, but it was worth it. Because now I can look at my babies and I can look at you and tell you that real love works, man. Love that don't give up works. This book I love to reference reminds me that love bears all things and love conquers all things. It does. Real love does. And I was willing to stick with my wife through thick and thin. Why? Because I made a covenant to her when we got married on December 20th, 2000. I made a covenant to her that, no matter what comes, man, till the hubcaps fall off. I loved that woman till she took her last breath and thereafter. So, I got a little skin in the game to talk to you about this thing called love. And I'm not just talking because I read about it. I've lived it. I'm grateful for it. I got beautiful kids out of it that they're my greatest motivation right now to keep doing this, because I want to challenge them to love in a way that's beautiful, man. But how I got to model it for them, and I have modeled it for them. I'm gonna continue to model it for them. Or else I wouldn't call this Live, Love, and Leave a Legacy podcast. We got to live in this life, and no matter what this life throws at us, we have the gift of love to give. Even in destructive and hard times, we can still love. And I know there's some people around you right now, they're annoying. You don't know, man. They're annoying. They drive me nuts. I don't know about you, but remember, again, if you have faith and you believe in God, we can be annoying to God too. We can be annoying to Jesus too. We can be stubborn. We don't listen and we know what's right, but we don't do it because we don't got the courage to do it because we don't want to look bad, or we're worried about how people are going to look at us or feel about us if we humble ourselves and all of a sudden we serve our spouse or we serve the other people like we're supposed to. And then we're like, well, that's weak, man. I'm no coward. I'm no punk. And I have nothing to do with that, man. Has nothing to do with that. Real love enables us and empowers us, man, to look beyond all that garbage and that nonsense and really look at the one across from us and say, man, I love you. And I'm willing to go through hell and high water with you, even when you hurt me, and I'm looking right at the camera. I'm looking right at you as I say that. Because one of the greatest barriers to love is unforgiveness. Sometimes we have a hard time forgiving. We hold stuff, man. I counsel couples a lot. One of the biggest barriers to get a breakthrough in a marriage or in a relationship is forgiveness. They're trying to start new with all this baggage, all this past. And we can't get nowhere until we deal with that. And the only way to deal with that is to deal with it, and say, look, man, allow someone to say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me for doing that to you. And the other person is saying, okay, I accept your apology and I forgive you, and really forgive them. Forgive them in a sense where you don't hold it against them again. And you give them a fresh start. But that's a choice. Just like love is a choice. I can't force couples to do it. I could just encourage them because I know it works. I know it works. Because without forgiveness, you can never experience true love, or you can never give true love. I ask couples, do you love him? Yeah. Do you love her? Yeah. Well, then why can't you forgive her? Well, it's because they've hurt me too much. I totally understand. I get that. I get it. I'm gonna look at you again. I get it. I understand. But if you're gonna forgive him or her, you gotta really just forgive him or her. I know this is a hard topic to talk about. It. Some of you are just like dying to just hit that scroll and keep scrolling. I don't want to listen to this dude no more about forgiveness and love. Let me tell you something. That's the greatest thing you can be known for, is a man who loves and a woman who loves. And loves genuinely, understands the value of that relationship. Next to having a healthy relationship with God, your spouse is the next person you should have the healthiest relations with. And then your kids. That's another one. That I know some of you might be like, well, I don't know. I don't believe that. And I've heard that over and over again. But in the end, after working with them, they finally realize that, yeah, you know what? Your husband or wife comes before your kids. I said it. I stand by it. And that's the healthiest relationship in the home. And if it's not, and you're trying to be a super mom or super dad with pain and conflict in between you, you're not really being a good mom and dad, because you're still creating an environment where it's not healthy, and your kids know it. Your kids know that you're fighting. Your kids know that you're going to get along. But imagine if you allowed God's love to flow through you. And that comes with forgiveness and grace and mercy, to overlook some of that stuff and be like, okay, look, I'm willing to just have patience and give some grace and give a lot of, and receive mercy too, It goes both ways. You can't put new wine in old wineskin. You can't do something new when you're still bringing old stuff in. But I promise, if you do it, man, you'll never regret it, man. You just, even right now, just close your eyes and say, God, help me. Give me the strength to forgive. Give me the strength to love my partner the way you call me to love him. And I promise you, man, when you do that and you really do it, it frees you. You've heard those quotes that they say unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It hurts your body, man. Holding that unforgiveness, holding that stuff, and it does more harm to you. And you're not healthy spiritually, physically, mentally, and emotionally to love somebody else. I don't know about you, but I want to love at the highest capacity that I can with God that I possibly ever can. That's what gives me the motivation to get behind this camera. I mean, I told you when I first did this is not something that I was like, I'm so confident. It's just I'm nervous, I'm nervous. I started looking. Some of you, you're like, if you notice what I noticed, man, one of those episodes that I did, and I go, man, I got all kinds of wrinkles right here. They can see every single, I'm getting over that. Like, I don't know, you're probably like, oh yeah, huh? I didn't notice until now. But yeah, but how I sound, we got to get over. We got to learn to be uncomfortable to progress. I'm getting more comfortable doing this. I hope you can see that. And, my son the other day sat me down, helped me out a little bit. And I was cool, and my daughters give me some pointers. My wife gives me pointers. People, your comments and people that message me and they like it, they give me pointers. I appreciate all that feedback because that's how I want to get better. We should encourage people to give us feedback on us as husbands and wives, or seek that kind of feedback. Hey, how am I doing? Or, having the guts to ask another guy that knows you really well, if you're a husband, say, how do you, if you had any advice to give me, what would you give me, man? Is there something you notice that maybe I should be doing more of? You spend a lot of time with my family. Do you notice something? Or a wife having the heart, the openness to ask another female that surrounds them and knows you and ask her, hey, what do you think? How am I doing as a wife? And, being vulnerable like that, man. As a parent, how are we doing? Communication is so important, that we have open communication, not just with ourselves, but those around us to get better. Invest in your marriage. Go to one of these marriage conferences, man. Tell you, you'll be blessed, man. I enjoy going to it now because you know what it does? It tells my wife that you're important and our relationship is important. I want to get better. And because remember, it's something that we got to work on till we take our last breath because we go through changes. And if we don't keep up with those changes and we don't, adjust and modify and upgrade in certain areas, we're going to try to function with a low, with not the right equipment, not the right mindset, not the right heart to face life as we get older, as we go through different seasons, empty nesters. I mean, wait till that comes. You think, I got some couples, you imagine, they tell me, well, when the kids move out of the house, then we're going to split up. We're just together for the kids. What a lie, man. Then what happens when the kids have kids and your grandkids? Then what? Now they got to go to two different houses to go take the grandkids because mom and dad are too prideful and selfish that they don't want to work things out. Remember, I don't know your story. I'm just saying. Okay. But man, real love is possible. It is, but it's a choice. I want to encourage you before I end this one because we're already a little over, but I want to encourage you to seek out what real love is. And if you're a Bible believing, if you're a God-fearing man or woman, the Bible is a great place to go. The Bible has a number of scriptures that remind us about, the Bible, love is mentioned over 500 times in the Bible because it's important to God for you and I to understand. It's there. The greatest scripture that well known around the world is John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. 1 John 4:7 says, love comes from God, and those who love have been born of God. That means if you've given your life to God and you've been born of God, that means that his love needs to flow through you. Let it flow through you and let it light up the world around you. Because let me tell you something, as you get better, everybody around you gets love, man. Live love and leave a legacy, baby. Go for it, the Maverick way. I'm Pastor Jerry, and I just want to let you know I love you, and I appreciate you, listening this long. I look forward to the next one. We'll talk about a little bit about how emotions. So I encourage you. The next one has to do with emotions and feelings and how, man, our emotions and feelings can take us here, there, and everywhere, and we have to be really careful and really acknowledge what are feelings and emotions and what place they play in our life. But until then, I encourage you to be blessed, to be brave, be bold, but most importantly, be the best version of you. And God bless you. Love you. See you next time.